This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Construction officially begun on the Princess Margaret Hospital over the Christmas holidays. This coming from Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Dowell, on Tuesday as he gave an update on what is being currently renovated.
We are currently in the process of renovating male medical 2, female surgical 1, the basement of the eye ward. All of these projects are ongoing. And sometime tomorrow we will be in Grand Bahama where we will issue some contracts as it relates to the modular units that have been sitting in Grand Bahama. These modular units was purchased a few months ago. They're a bit late, but it has to do with logistics around the world. These are hurricane-resistant units. They are prefabricated. They will give additional space to the accident emergency. They would also be able to do a better job for COVID management at the Rand Memorial Hospital and the Princess Margaret Hospital. So I'm pleased to report to the Bahamian people that we are on target. And very soon, hopefully, I may be able to take the media on a tour of what we're doing at the hospital.
He notes that the accident and emergency section of the hospital is currently on phase 2 of its renovation progress. On Monday, Minister Dowell reviewed some of the progress and says he is very pleased.
It's good news. We believe that this is the only way to get the renovations done. It's very difficult to renovate wards with patients on the wards. You have to move them, you have to disassemble, you have to do demolition, and then you need to come behind and get it done right without putting our patients and staff at risk.
He says once all the renovations are complete, the hospital will be able to provide a more robust and sound treatment modality and response. He asks the public to be patient with them as upgrades are made. Former Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for Kalani, Dr. Hubert Minnis, while criticizing the government's approach to combating the rising cost of living, says they must be more targeted, especially for the lower class and the middle class individuals. This coming in light of the International Development Bank's, or the IDB's, latest quarterly Caribbean Economic Bulletin, which pegged annual food price inflation in the Bahamas at 16.1%, the second highest in the Caribbean sample. The IDB also said the government's price controls are poorly targeted mechanisms to counter soaring food costs as they benefit the rich. They continued by saying the only initiatives specifically targeted to low-income families is the impending minimum wage increase. The report also warned that the price controls, which negatively impact small and medium-sized food stores, which lack a wide product range and economies of scale. The IDB indicated that social assistance to offset the cost of living crisis could be better focused on poor families through the use of conditional cash transfer initiatives that build on existing initiatives such as food vouchers. Dr. Minnis agrees with the IDB's report.
The upper class, inflation will not affect them. If prices go up 5 times, they can manage, so it would not affect them. When you adjust prices straight across the board, the upper class benefits and the lower class don't necessarily benefit. So you have to really target them, be it by specific form of benefits. I have my thoughts. I would not want to discuss it at this particular time, but I have my thoughts as to what should be done specifically for the lower class and the middle class, so as to advance them, so that and you have to, the benefits that you're giving them, you must discuss with economists, financiers, to ensure that it can be offset and not detrimental to the country.
Dr. Minnis goes on to say that as a politician, it brings him joy to see young Bahamians and lower-class individuals succeed.
When I see young people, especially from underprivileged areas, become entrepreneurs, business people, and succeed, I'm very ecstatic about those type of things, having come from that type of environment myself. So that's my greatest pleasure in politics and greatest pleasure in life, when I see young people, especially from marginalized environments, succeed. And that's my goal and my ambition in politics, basically to focus on that group. And that was why we have introduced the so-called tax-free zones for the inner city. And the plan was to extend tax-free zones throughout the entire country, especially in the marginalized area. And the plan moving forward was to I don't want to say that, I'd say it later, but it would be great benefits in moving, especially the lower and middle class forward. The rich will always survive.
Although Dr. Minnis did not say when he will reveal his plans for the lower income families, he asserts that we will hear them very soon. He says the entire country is still waiting to see what the Davis administration will do to help support those citizens who really need it. A 46-year-old male of Treasure Key, Abaco subdivision is in police custody after he was allegedly found in possession of suspected marijuana. Officers on the island of Abaco confiscated 15 croaker sack bags along with over 260 blocks of suspected marijuana during a special operation. Preliminary reports reveal that shortly after 5 p.m., officers of the Northern Bahamas, Abaco and Grand Bahama, executed a search warrant on a single-story residence on St. Andrews Drive, where they discovered the drugs along with a quantity of ammunition. Police are actively investigating. There has been no prison break, as was widely circulated on social media on Wednesday night. Police debunking claims that a prisoner escaped from the Bahamas Department of Corrections sometime around 8 p.m. on Facebook. Sometime around 8 p.m., a Facebook post was circulated on WhatsApp telling Bahamians that police were in the eastern area of New Providence searching for the male prisoner who was wearing a striped shirt and gray pants. However, police say it is an erroneous report, and at present, all inmates at Bahamas Department of Corrections are accounted for and appear to be in good health. Police are aggressively investigating this report to determine its origin. People found intentionally publishing erroneous information will be prosecuted. And finally, the Cabinet Office announcing a state-recognized funeral for the late Ruth Rosalie Millar, former financial secretary at the Ministry of Finance. Today, parliamentarians, past and present, paid respects and expressed condolences to the family of the late Mrs. Millar, who lay in repose at Bethel Brothers Mortician on Nassau Street. Mrs. Millar died on December 16, 2022. Among those paying their respects were President of the Senate, Lachelle Adderley, Minister of Works and Utilities, Alfred Sears, as well as Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard, who all reflected on the contributions of Mrs. Millar.
She served as financial secretary during the time I was a senior research officer at the Central Bank of the Bahamas. So I'm very much familiar with her work ethic. She served with distinction. She served with ethics. She was a hard worker and a very disciplined woman.
Her role and her contribution has been enormous. As in the post-independent Bahamas, she has been a major architect of the financial administration.
And so we are very much grateful for her years of service. In the public service, there's a category of persons who have served during the period that she has served that have really been the consummate professionals, notwithstanding what their private political views may have been. They served the Bahamas and the Bahamian people well, and she's certainly one of those professionals.
The late Ruth Millar died at the age of 88. She served as the financial secretary for 14 years from 1994 to 2008. As a trained and certified nurse prior to her service at the Ministry of Finance, Mrs. Millar served as the administrator of the Princess Margaret Hospital and director of the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation. During her tenure in the financial sector of the government, she served under 3 former prime ministers, including Prime Minister Perry Christie, Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, as well as Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, who were all in attendance and extended their final sentiments.
She's a wonderful lady, very talented, very able. She was with me for the 2 years I was minister. When I became prime minister 10 years later, I sent for her.
Ruth Miller was an extraordinary woman who could have been anything in life. She happened to start off a nursing career. My mother was a nurse. She became the top in nursing in her country. She was an exceptional mind. She used that to move herself into the financial sector, where she qualified herself as a chartered accountant, became the financial secretary of the country, and made a defining contribution advising governments.
I would remember her from her medical days, and as a medical profession nursing officer, she had left an excellent example to young nursing personnel. She would have guided them, mentored them, and kept them focused.
The state-recognized funeral will be held at Bethel Baptist Church on Meeting Street beginning at 11 a.m. on Friday. Interment will follow in Lakeview Memorial Gardens and Mausoleum on John F. Kennedy Drive. And that'll do it for your JCN Evening News. Once again, I'm Dorino Saunders. Thanks for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.